Hey, welcome to Quick Licks. We're going to talk about something I like to call a learning tempo. And the learning tempo is just a way of saying that you got to groove on something. When you first pick up the guitar, there's a lot of technical stuff going on. If you're sort of a beginner, to play a couple of planned out notes can be really tricky to get everything happening, finding the right string here and all that stuff. So you got to develop some sort of feel on something. Okay, no, that's next. I think I do it 2 more times, and then I go to this chord. Oh, where's that chord? And then as a result, when we try to speed it up or play it with anyone else, we have kind of rough timing, going from one chord to another. And it always kind of stays there if you have it early on. So if you can bypass that whole process or period of time where you sound not super tight and not super confident, we want to sound really confident, right? So even if I'm playing 4 notes, I don't want to be thinking about that. Of course, I got to think about it when I start. So let's pick a slow learning tempo, really slow. It's going to sound like a drummer's backing you up, even though they're not, right? So we're gonna go D string, 1, 2, 3, 4 strings, 9. Next string is the G, 3rd string, 7, and then we're gonna go 8. So that builds a little chord, a triad, an inversion, but a triad. So we're gonna go G, B, so B, D, G. And then we're going to hit this, we're going to skip that string, and play the 7th fret. And then we're going to play that note again, but with a different finger, with my ring finger, my 3rd finger. And then I'm going to go back to the index on the 5th fret, same string, D string. And then I'm going to play an open E, so I'm going to skip a string, the A, and then I can either slide or hammer on 5/7 on the A string. So I'm going to go, so my student might try, okay, tries they can't sound in time. They might be sound something like that. But if they're having so much trouble, I might just say, hey, get the first 4 notes down in a time, in context, in a time frame. So we got again. Get that happening. Oh, it's still having trouble? Let's go slower. Even slower. Painfully slow. 3. We got 8th notes happening. See how I missed that? You got to be comfortable with your mistakes. 1 and 2 and 3 and. So if you're playing with the AC/DC drummer or Lars, you're going to hear a lot of 1 and 3, boom, on certain songs that call for it. Like Unforgiven, for example. Nice drum groove. Boom, boom. Some pickups to the downbeat, but the AC/DC, you always hear boom. If you're unfamiliar with that, you can count these as 8th notes. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. The kick share the quarters. 3, 4. And if you start to hear that, even with 4 notes, you're laughing because now you can groove before anyone else, So we got. We're gonna add that in now. 7, 5, open, 5/7, or you can slide it, rhythmically slide it, or just grace note slide. All right. So 3 and go and bass, snare and kick and snare and kick and snare and kick. I don't care about the next part. I just want to hear that grooving. If that's your first couple songs. Okay? And if I can hear that, then I have a lot of hope for that student because they're grooving. They're sounding good when they're playing something. It's the most important part, right? You want it to be music. Let's take another example. I always get people doing power chords and kind of getting them moving around instead of just learning the open chords. Which is nothing wrong with open chords, they're great. But we're going to go 7th fret on the A string. That's an E. E, E, G, E. And we're going to play 10, 9. So the root notes, 7, 7, 5, 7, 10, 9, 7, 7, 5, 7. So you're going to actually just do a power chord based on the 5th string, the A string, the whole time. And then we're going to put a little minor pentatonic 2 notes on the G string, 14, kind of like the 2nd fret, same number, 14, 12. G string, just a little fill, right? Oh wait, how does that go? Yeah. And then beginning, yeah. So you got a little sandwich, okay, and then you have a fill at the end. You got some spice on top, and that's the 2nd fill. So you do your sandwich, and then you got your kind of. I think of that as bookends, and something can happen there. I mean, so many songs have that, That's another Sabbath tune. A lot of tunes. Black Betty. It's used everywhere. So sounds really good, right? But we're going to go. And the sandwich, the ingredients is the 10-9 power chord. So, of course, it's 10, 12, and 9, 11. But I'm referring to the root note. And this is the fill. This is the spice. And then we have. Whoops. We're going to do that little fill, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5. You might have noticed, and I was overthinking it here. When you play your E chord, you can add the lower B note, which is, hey, there's a B in that chord, so you just fatten it up, sounds more metal. I don't even have distortion on. It sounds heavy, right? Too fast. And one more fill to throw in there. When he starts singing, you're gonna just do the classic E thing, right? It's an inversion of an E minor triad. But I think he's just doing the G and B string there. He always does that, right? Because it's the root. There's your root. So we got. Okay. So we got. Nice and slow. What's that? Oh, your fingers are squishing because you're sliding. Yeah, that'll happen. Don't be mean to yourself. That will happen. Let's go slower. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 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 3 and a 4 E and 1 and 2 and 4 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 1 and 2 and. So there you go. Slower the better, because if everything relates to each other, the other rhythms, then you kind of have a leg up on someone who might not even pay attention to that for a year or so or whatever, or a little while. it has to relate. So something that, hey, this is fast, I can't do this. I can't do it. Alternate picking. So I just have to slow down and just do that part and just get. No, don't. Slow everything down to the point where you can do that. And you're actually taking a shortcut. Even though it's going to feel like, I don't want to do that. It sounds bad. I don't understand it anymore. When you slow it down to your learning tempo, you're not going to understand it for a sec. You might not. Because the 16ths don't sound so fast anymore, do they? That's the 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a, those are 16ths in relation to our eighth note kind of rhythm. 2 and 3, and I'm just getting away with counting eighth notes, and then when we get there is and a 3E or and a 3E and or 4E and. So yeah, it's great to get that relationship happening. The rest of it, if you're curious, it has some classic metal stuff in it. So you got an E on the 7th fret of the A string, and then you got a 5, 7, 7. So there's a pull off there, but you can get around it if you can't do it, or alternate pick it. So you got 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and we're gonna bend the 14th fret of the G string against the B. Marty Freeman says never do that because it's too cliche, but it's kind of a neat effect. If you can't bend, just slide 2 frets from 14 to 16 and just do it twice. So I want to bring your attention to, the guitar player doesn't have to, he just keeps playing that E over the bass player. But since we're all home, let's just do the notes all by ourselves, right? So the bass player plays this. And it goes against what you're playing. So the E sounds good, but by yourself, not so much. So it's fun to impress your friends. I can play the whole riff, right? And the bass player goes here, and you go up and bend. Well, that didn't work. And that's pretty much a big chunk of the song right there. You don't really have to learn much else unless you're getting into his leads. And if you're just starting out, be satisfied with some tight rhythm playing. So thank you very much. We'll see you next week.